All right, for our monochromatic self-portraits, the first thing that we need to do is pick our color that we're going to use for the whole self-portrait. It's monochromatic, so the color that you pick is going to be the color you're going to use for the entire project. I chose blue, so that's the one color I chose, and then you also need to choose one type of line. There's a whole bunch of types of line out here. This is only the beginning, but you want to stick with one kind of line. You don't want to do all of them. I think I'm going to go ahead with zigzag, do a zigzag line, and that's the kind of line I'm going to use for the whole project. All right, let's talk about painting. First things first, when you're holding your paintbrush, you don't hold it like a pencil. You don't hold it all the way here. You scoot your hand back so it's not even touching the metal part of the brush. You scoot your hand back. Then, with your paint, you don't swivel around in the cup. You don't scoop paint out of the brush, out of the cup. You just have the tiptoes of the paintbrush touch the paint. You don't just dip the whole paintbrush in there or smash it down. Just the very tiptoes of the paintbrush get paint on it. So the paintbrush doesn't have like paint going all the way up the sides. All right, so now I have my paint on my brush and I'm ready to start with my first zigzag line. You can have it going diagonal, you can have it going horizontal, you can have it going vertical. It's kind of up to you how you want to start. But you want to start so that it goes all the way off the page. You have a table protector so you don't get paint on your table. So you're just having the tiptoes of the brush touch the paper. You are not smashing the brush all the way down. After you have your first line, you're going to leave a little space in between and do your second line. You don't want a whole lot of space in between, and you don't want it to be too close to the other line. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space and do my next zigzag line. Tiptoes of the brush get the paint, tiptoes of the brush touch the paper. You always have it up like a ballerina. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of my zigzags, and I'll speed up the video. When you are finished, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and do what's called touch-ups. You're just fixing the parts that you think need fixed. So what I notice is a lot of mine kind of crossed over a little bit, so I'm just touching those up to make it look more like a line, a little bit more smooth at the edges. I also am kind of doing another layer on some parts where it looks like it's too thin. So I'm just doing touch-ups to fix up some of my lines. So you're just going to keep doing touch-ups until it is time to clean up. All right, let's say that I said it's time to clean up. The very first thing that you do when it's time to clean up is you wash your brush and you dry your brush. So you wash your brush by painting the bottom of the cup. If you just go like this with the water, you're not actually washing the brush. See how the water isn't very blue? You need to paint the bottom of the cup. You're not smashing or swiveling or splashing the water. You're painting the bottom of the cup. Then you want to wipe it on the lip of the cup, which is the edge of the cup, like this, so that the water goes on the inside. If I go like this, the water is going to go on the outside. You want to make sure your paintbrush is pointing towards the water so the water goes on the inside. So first I wash my brush. Now I'm going to dry my brush. If I need to wash it out more, I can. Wash my brush and dry it. All right, now I can put this on the tray. And the paint is going to go back where it came from. The water is going to go back where it came from. Your paintbrush can stay on your tray. Your paper towel can stay on your tray. And that's it. All right, so we are moving on in our monochromatic self-portraits. We had our background, we picked our color, and we picked our type of line. And today we are going to make a light value. Now, a light value is just a light version of a color. So here's the equation to make a light value. First, you start with white, then you add your color, whatever color you picked last time. I picked blue, so my color would be blue. And then that is what is going to make your light value. So we're going to go ahead and make our light value. You have a paper plate for mixing. And the first thing you need to add, according to the equation, is white. You don't start with your color, you start with white, because that's what the equation tells me to do. So I have my white. Now I'm not going to pour this out on my plate. I'm just going to kind of scoop it out with my paintbrush. You don't want to scoop the whole thing out. You just kind of want to make a small pile of paint on your plate. So a nice small pile. And then I cannot just go into here to get my color, because that's the next thing I need to do. So what I like to do is kind of clean off some of the paint off of my brush on the plate. And now I'm going to wash my brush. We talked about this last time. You have to paint the bottom of the cup. You can't just swish on top. You're not splishing and splashing, you're just painting the bottom of your cup. Wipe on the lip so that the water goes into the cup. Dry on the paper towel. And now I can go ahead and add my color. So I'm going to take some of this color, and when I'm mixing the two together, I don't want to spread it out all over my plate. I just kind of want to keep it in a small pile, because if I spread it out all over the plate, I'm wasting all of that paint on the paper plate when I really want it on my painting. So when I added my color, I didn't add a whole lot, just kind of like one little bit will do. And then I mix it together, and now I have my light value. And with this light value, I am going to paint the spaces in between all of my lines. You want to make sure that you go all the way to the edge and right next to the lines that you made last time. And you're just painting in the in-between spaces. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And if you ever run out of your light value, you just wash your brush, dry your brush, and start the equation all over again. You knew how to make it. You just wash your brush and make it again. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video while I paint in all of my spaces in between. Your paper is going to curl up a little bit, and that is okay. All right, now that I'm done, if you have extra time, and I didn't tell you to clean up yet, what you're going to do is you're going to do touch-ups back on your lines, because there are probably some spots where you accidentally painted over your original lines. So what you're going to do is wash your brush, dry your brush, and then you can go back just with the regular blue, not your light value, and touch up those lines. So I'm going to go ahead, touch up some of those lines. When I say it's time to clean up, the very first thing you are going to do is wash your brush, painting the bottom of the cup. Wipe on the lip, making sure the water goes on the inside. Dry it on the paper towel. And then you can put the paint back where it's supposed to go. Put the water cup back where it's supposed to go. Paintbrush can stay on your tray. Paper towel can stay on your tray. And that is it. All right, so now that we're finished with our lines of our one color and our light value, What we're going to do next is we're going to create a border, which is basically like a picture frame. If you imagine what a picture frame like, there's the edge around the sides, and that's basically what a border is, and we're going to make that with our dark value. So here's the equation for dark value. So with dark value, you start out first with your color. Whatever color you picked, that's what you're going to start out with. Then you're going to add just a little bit of black. If you end up needing more black, you can always add more, but it's really hard to take it away. So you add a little bit at a time. So first you start with your color, then you add a little bit of black, and that's how you make your dark value. So with your paper plate, you're going to follow the equation. First, start with your color. And you guys have a smaller brush because you're not going to need a whole lot of paint because you're just doing your border. So you're going to add your color to your plate. You're not pouring it or shoveling it down, just kind of scooping it out with your paintbrush. Now that I have my color, I need to add a little bit of black, so I'm going to kind of scrape the excess paint off as much as I can. Now I'm going to wash my brush by painting the bottom of the cup, wipe it on the lip, get the water off, dry on the paper towel. And now I can go ahead and add a little bit of black. You don't need a whole lot. Little bit of black. So now I'm going to go ahead and the same thing when you're mixing your dark value, you want to keep it in a small pile. You don't want it spread out all over your plate. Small little section. So your dark value is just a darker version of your color. I think I want mine a little bit darker, so I'm going to wash my brush, dry my brush, and add a tiny little bit more black. That's why you have to add a teeny tiny little bit at a time. See, I'm adding very small amounts because a little bit goes a long way. That's better. All right, so now I'm going to make my border. And with my border, I'm going to pick the same type of line that I chose earlier. So I'm going to do zigzags. And I'm just going to do zigzags around the edge. Personally, I like to turn my paper every time I turn. Makes it a lot easier. And there I have my border going around the side. Again, if you finish early, I would take the time and do some touch-ups, especially when things are a little scratchy around the edge, or if things look really thin, you can paint a layer on top. So you just keep doing touch-ups until it's time to clean up. And just like before, first thing you do with cleanup is always wash your brush by painting the bottom of the cup, wiping it on the lip so the water goes on the inside, dry on the paper towel. If you notice you need to wash it more, always just wash it more. And then your paintbrush can go on your tray. The paint's going to go back where the paint goes, the water goes back where the water goes, and that's basically it.